The year was 620 CE. For over a decade, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, had walked the streets of Mecca, calling people to worship one God. But Mecca resisted. The Quraysh elite saw his message as a threat to their power and economy, built on idol worship. Persecution was relentless. Early Muslims faced insults, violence, and torture. Bilal dragged across burning sand. Sumayya martyred for her faith. The Muslims were boycotted, starved, and isolated. The Prophet's heart ached for his followers. He sent some to Abyssinia for safety, but that was only a temporary refuge. What he needed was a true sanctuary, a place where Islam could grow openly. His search for hope led him beyond Mecca, even after the painful rejection at Taif. As the annual pilgrimage brought tribes from across Arabia to Mecca, the Prophet saw opportunity. He moved quietly among the tents, sharing his message with wisdom and patience. Most tribes rejected him, but he offered them something greater than power, a connection to their Creator. Amid rejection, a glimmer of hope appeared. From a city to the north, Yathrib, the seeds of change were about to be planted. The Prophet's perseverance in the face of adversity set the stage for a new chapter. The story of Islam was about to take a dramatic turn. Yathrib, an oasis city, was lush in land but parched by conflict. The Aws and Khazraj tribes had been locked in endless war, leaving the city exhausted and divided. Jewish tribes lived among them, often speaking of a coming prophet who would bring victory. The idea of a prophet was familiar, and hope for change was in the air. Yathrib's people longed for unity and peace, a new way to live beyond tribal feuds. When a group from Khazraj traveled to Mecca for pilgrimage, they were searching for answers. They met the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, near Aqabah, and listened to his message of monotheism, justice, and brotherhood. His words resonated deeply, offering an end to senseless violence. The men wondered, could this be the prophet foretold by their neighbors? They saw a chance for salvation and unity. The ground in Yathrib was ready for change. The seeds of faith were about to be sown. The city's thirst for guidance would soon be quenched. A new chapter in Yathrib's history was beginning. The encounter at Aqabah would change everything. That night at Aqabah, 6 Khazraj men met the Prophet in secret. He recited the Quran, explained Islam's core: worship one God, reject idols, uphold good character. He asked not for armies, but for a pledge of personal transformation. This became the first pledge of Aqabah, the pledge of women, focused on moral reform, not warfare. They promised not to associate partners with Allah, not to steal, commit adultery, or kill their children, and to obey the Prophet in good. The pledge was about purifying the soul before society. The Prophet was building people, not just a movement. The 6 men returned to Yathrib changed, carrying hope and a new faith. They became ambassadors, spreading the message to their families and neighbors. The story of their encounter spread quickly. The city was ready for something new. The seeds of unity and morality began to sprout. The foundation for a new community was laid. News of the pledge spread through Yathrib, sparking curiosity and hope. The new Muslims needed guidance, so they asked the Prophet for a teacher. He sent Mus'ab ibn Umair, a young man who had sacrificed wealth and comfort for faith. Mus'ab's gentle manners and deep knowledge made him the perfect ambassador. He taught the Quran, visited homes, and won hearts with sincerity and wisdom. Prominent leaders like Sa'd ibn Mu'adh embraced Islam after hearing him, triggering a wave of conversions. Old feuds faded as the message of brotherhood took root. Within a year, Islam had reached every corner of Yathrib. The city was transformed from a battleground to a community united by faith. Mus'ab's mission was a stunning success. Yathrib was ready for the Prophet's arrival. It was no longer just Yathrib. It was becoming Madinat al-Nabi, the city of the Prophet. The groundwork for a new society was complete. The stage was set for a historic migration. A year later, 73 men and 2 women from Yathrib returned to Mecca for pilgrimage. Their faith was strong. They sought a new pledge with the Prophet. This time, it was about community, protection, and sacrifice. The Prophet's uncle, Al-Abbas, warned them of the risks. This pledge could mean war with Arabia's most powerful tribes. The Ansar declared their readiness to defend the Prophet as their own. They asked, "If we protect you, will you ever abandon us?" The Prophet replied, "I am of you, and you are of me." This was the second pledge of Aqabah, the pledge of war. The Ansar promised loyalty, justice, and protection, even at great personal cost. It was a comprehensive alliance, marking Islam's transition from a persecuted faith to a nascent state. That night, a new power was born in the darkness of Aqabah. The Muslims were no longer alone. The foundation for a new society was sealed. The Ansar's courage would change history. The Prophet now had a community ready to stand by him. The future of Islam was secured. The second pledge couldn't stay secret for long. A cry exposed the meeting, and the Quraysh were furious. They confronted the Yathrib pilgrims but found no proof, yet rumors spread quickly. Realizing the threat, the Quraysh intensified their persecution. The Muslims now had a safe haven in Yathrib, threatening Quraysh's power and trade. The Prophet received divine permission to migrate. He described Yathrib as the land of palm trees between black stones. Muslims began slipping out of Mecca in secret, risking everything for faith. The Quraysh's crackdown only accelerated the migration. Instead of crushing Islam, their fury fueled its rise. The first Islamic society was taking shape in Yathrib. The Hijrah was about to begin. The pledges of Aqabah were more than personal promises. They were the birth of the Ummah. In Mecca, Muslims were scattered and powerless. The pledges transformed them into a united community. Loyalty shifted from bloodlines to shared faith and purpose. The Prophet's words, "Your blood is my blood," erased tribal divisions. This new social contract had profound political impact. With Yathrib as their base, Islam became a geopolitical force. The city, soon called Madinah, would be the capital of the first Islamic State. The pledges paved the way for the Constitution of Madinah, outlining rights for all citizens. The Prophet became not just a spiritual leader, but a head of state. The secret meetings at Aqabah marked Islam's transition from movement to state. The Muslims now shaped their own destiny. The pledges provided the framework for justice and social welfare. In the darkness of Aqabah, a civilization was born. The pledges of Aqabah revealed the Prophet Muhammad's remarkable leadership. He began not with demands for power, but with a call for moral excellence. He built trust by focusing on character and integrity. His leadership was inclusive. He welcomed questions, allowed open discussion, and valued consultation. The Prophet's bond with his followers was based on empathy and shared struggle. He endured hardship alongside them, earning their love and loyalty. His authority came from wisdom and example, not force. He empowered others, entrusting young leaders like Musab with great responsibility. The Prophet's leadership was about empowering people to achieve greatness together. The pledges of Aqabah set a new standard for just, compassionate leadership. It was a model built on trust, empathy, and vision. The foundation for a just society was laid. The pledges of Aqabah offer timeless lessons. True change begins with personal integrity and moral commitment. Unity built on shared values can overcome even the deepest divisions. The Ansar sacrifice shows that real progress requires courage and selflessness. The pledges teach us that meaningful goals demand sacrifice of comfort, time, and resources. The Hijrah was not an escape, but a strategic move toward a prepared future. The Muslims left everything behind, trusting in Allah's promise. The Ansar opened their homes to strangers, forging a new brotherhood. The pledges were the promise. The Hijrah was the fulfillment. This was the dawn of a new era for Islam and humanity. The lessons of Aqabah remain relevant for anyone seeking change today. The story of the pledges is a blueprint for building a better world.